Hi and welcome to this reading. I've tried to do this reading multiple times. I tried a couple of times yesterday and something was just holding me back. I even sat down last night as the moon was going into eclipse. So we had the lunar eclipse in Virgo last night at about 9 o'clock last night, and I just kept getting interrupted. So I took that as a sign. Now this morning, I've done a couple of things, and this is what's in the energy at the moment. So I'm giving you my spiritual symbolic take on what's happened over the last 24 hours in this energy of the lunar eclipse, and it was a blood moon. The lunar eclipse in Virgo. Now, Virgo is divine feminine energy. And if we look at the divine feminine and the divine masculine energy, not gender specific, is about action. It's about moving forward. Divine feminine energy sits back. It's about wisdom. It's about pause and reflection and a balance between the two. Now, the card that came out when I did the pre-shuffle for the reading yesterday, when I tried to do it yesterday, was the Justice card, which is about balance, which is about scales, the scales of justice. And there's this beautiful sense of calm that's just sitting in the energy at the moment. Both my dogs are asleep, so they're not at the moment. They're fighting, racing around the house, like play fight fighting, but they're fighting. And that is Mars and Uranus is in the energy at the moment as well, which is obviously why we're seeing all of the things that are happening in the sky. But there's some balance coming in. Now, as I said, just before I started this reading, there was this beautiful calm energy. And I took the time so that my storage doesn't run out on my phone whilst I'm recording. I took the time to delete some videos. And just as I sat down, I double checked how much storage I had left. And I've used up, and it was a beautiful synchronicity, I've used up out of 285 gigabytes, yes, 285 gigabytes, I've used up 222.22. Now, the number 2 in numerology is about patience. It's also, if we're looking at the tarot, it's also the High Priestess card, which is the moon, represented by the moon. And we've just had this lunar eclipse. There's a feeling of just wait. And you heard that bird. Just wait. Everything will be okay. And it's because this beautiful divine feminine energy is coming into the collective, even to the point where, as I was sitting down and I was waiting for the dogs to calm down, my puppy was chewing on a squeak toy, and it's Pumbaa from The Lion King. And it reminds me of that song, Hakuna Matata, means no worries. There's divine feminine, again, not gender specific, there's divine feminine energy that's coming into the collective that is going to bring some balance back. The Justice card. So if you are new to my channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. A bit about me first. I'm an intuitive tarot reader. I pick up on energy prior to a reading. I will then come and use my tarot and oracle decks to further clarify that message. All of my messages are timeless. Whenever you stumble across this reading, you are meant to find it. As I said, I'm pulling in the energy. It is the 4th of the 3rd, 2026 today. And we've just had the lunar eclipse in Virgo. Now, out of all the constellations in the sky, Virgo is the only constellation that's represented by a woman. So signs in the sky about this energy coming through. Virgo also represents the Virgin Mary, so Mother Mary energy coming through. But I'm going to get into the messages. And a beautiful brown and white butterfly has just, it's literally just, now let me just look at this. I've got one of those big spiky agave plants in my garden. I'm looking out into my garden and it's hovering around and it's trying to find somewhere to sit, and it's just sat on a softer plant. Spiky energy, spiky divine Get your mind out of the gutter. Spiky divine masculine energy at the moment, meaning out of balance divine masculine energy. Again, not gender specific. We all hold divine feminine and divine masculine energy within. But out of balance divine masculine energy is charging forward with the sword. It's out of control energy. And again, that's what we're seeing in the collective. There's a softening. And I'm just looking at that. I've never sort of thought of... Okay, all of the cards that I use on my channel are my own designs because I'm also an illustrator. If you are called to any of those, the links can be found in the description box. But when I drew this Justice card, I just had peace to all men, peace to all men. When I drew this Justice card, I actually drew it with 1,000 little eyes around. And you've got a sword here, and it's quite masculine. But if you actually have a look, let me hold it there. If you actually have a look at the surrounding energy of this card, it's soft, almost, I'm getting almost like a womb. Mother knows best is the other thing I just heard. Okay, so as I said, I've been trying to do this reading for a couple of days. What I was getting through, the channel messages that I was getting through, are about the Queen of Heaven. Now, what does that mean? I didn't really know what it means. I just was getting these channel messages. The woman from heaven brought back to earth to plant the new seeds for humanity's rebirth. That was the channel message that I got. And I kept hearing the next 7 years, the next 7 years. So what's happening in and around us at the moment that would signify this divine feminine energy, whether it is a single entity or whether it is a group of people who are leading with their divine feminine energy. Divine feminine energy is wisdom. It's intuition. It's inner knowing. It's a stripping back or a pushing away and boundaries being put up to anything that doesn't serve you anymore. It's ascension, and it often comes through great pain, great struggle, or viewing, if it's not physically, mentally, spiritually happened to you, viewing great pain, great struggle. So what's in the collective at the moment that is giving us some sort of symbols, because that's what I love, the signs and symbols, and not the signs and symbols, like not the stuff you see on the news or stuff like that, stuff that we have no control over, the divine stuff. So on the 20th of February, which was a couple of weeks ago, we had the Great Reset, where Neptune and Saturn, both of whom had been in Pisces very spiritual, but Pisces is about illusion. Neptune and Saturn went into Aries. Now, Aries in the zodiac is the garden. So that channel message that I got, the woman from heaven brought to earth to plant the new seeds for humanity's rebirth. And things don't happen, February 20, and then all of a sudden everything's, if you're planting in the garden, and if you look at the zodiac as a garden, Aries is the first sign of the zodiac. So it's where you plant the seeds, but it's making sure that when you plant those seeds, you have, you've done all the preparation, because otherwise you're planting seeds in toxic soil. And that was, the last couple of readings that I've been doing is about, changes that are being made because of this rise of this divine feminine energy. You will also find in the description box or in the playlist called Rise of the Divine Feminine, I've got a whole heap of videos that I did last year about this beautiful divine feminine energy that's rising in the collective. Last year was a 999 portal year. Now 9 is symbolic of the Hermit card in the tarot, which is Chiron, the wounded healer. It's also Virgo energy, which again is that Mother Mary energy. Mother Mary is a solo journey. She had that baby on her own. So something that you are doing individually and as a collective, something that you've done on your own, a journey that you've been on your own, but walking side by side, walking parallel with everybody else that is tapping into their divine feminine energy. So as I said, the Great Reset, February 20, Aries, Saturn and Neptune went into Aries, which is 0 degrees of Aries, and it was the first time that those two planets have aligned at 0 degrees of Aries since 4,361 BC, so over 6,000 years ago. But the beautiful synchronicity of that is that actually happened on the 3rd of the 3rd, 4,361 BC, and yesterday was the 3rd of the 3rd. So there's synchronicities in there. If you want to look at out of balance divine masculine energy, obviously what's happening on the planet in terms of wars that have started in the last couple of days, in and around that 3rd of the 3rd, well, the war in Iraq also started at the same point in time, in early March. I think that was 2003. We've also got Pluto going into Aquarius, which is collective energy, and it's revolutionary energy. If you've not watched any of my readings before, Pluto is a transit that takes 248 years. So that planet takes 248 years to make its way all through the zodiac signs, and it sits in each sign for 20 years. Every time it hits Aquarius, there is a massive uprising of the people, where collectively the people take back power from the opposite of Aquarius, which is Leo, which is out of balance, Emperor energies. And the reading I did yesterday, I was talking about the Lion King, Simba, taking back power from Scar. So we've got this collective energy rising. Think of the last 250 years. That was the French Revolution, the American Revolution. Huge, big things. And it takes 20 years. So again, it's not this, I'll wake up tomorrow and all of a sudden it's happening. It's this period of time. And that was that message that I was getting, the next 7 years. Planting the seeds now for the next 7 years. Making sure you've got the right soil, making sure the plant's in the right amount of sunlight, the right amount of shade, making sure it's getting the right amount of water. Now, how do you do all of that? You do it built on the wisdom from all the struggles that you've been through, by tapping into that divine feminine energy, creating those boundaries, kicking the weeds out of the garden, because you know that you want this plant to grow, but it won't grow with all this crap around it. So Pluto will be in Aquarius from 2025 to 2044. This year in July, the North Node, now the North Node is our collective point of destiny. The North Node is currently in Pisces, but in July, it goes into Aquarius for 18 months. Again, this Aquarius energy. July 2026 through till December 2027. A collective community garden at the birds and the bees. Aquarius is humanity. It's about we, not I. It's about the team. And it's Uranus energy, which is in the tarot, the Fool card is Uranus. It's also the planet of earthquakes. So a massive, massive change. The opposition of that, what we are leaving, because Aquarius, as the North Node, we're walking towards that energy, collectively walking towards that energy in this beautiful, balanced, divine, feminine energy. Again, not gender specific, but the release of that is the South Node, which is what we are leaving behind, and that is Leo energy. Because again, the North and the South Node are opposite each other. If the North Node is in Aquarius, the South Node will be in Leo. So leaving behind these symbols of me, ego, victimhood, power. Where are we seeing that at the moment? Everywhere. If we're looking at the next 7 years, and we're looking at this number, this year date, 2032, keeps popping up for me. 2032, the North Node will be in Libra. So that's in 7 years' time. The North Node will be in Libra, which is justice, balance, relationships, making good, sound, honest decisions based on the collective, not based on what we want as an individual, what's best for everybody. Now, I've not looked into this a lot. I've just been getting bits and pieces in videos that have been popping up, and always have a look at videos that just randomly pop up in your feed. There's a piece of the puzzle in there. And I've just got so much going on in my mind at the moment, so many messages coming through, that I've tried to limit what I'm watching So it is something I'll probably explore later. But in regards to this Queen of Heaven, this rebirth energy, and as I said, Virgo in the constellation, she's the only woman. In July, there's a cradle formation, and I think it's 4 planets that are at 4 degrees. So they're at the same degrees, and I want to say the cardinal signs, but I might have that wrong. If you know what it is, please let me know. But some of the astrologers that I have watched, there's 4 planets at 4 degrees and it makes some sort of cradle formation. Other people are calling it a star. So two triangles, one the right way up, one inverted in the sky. But that would be 6 planets. So maybe it is conjuncting with or aligning or aspecting something else. Again, I'm not an astrologist, so I don't really know. But what I know from the bits of information that, and everybody is saying the same thing, they've never seen it before in the sky. Now, if we think about a cradle formation, a cradle is a baby, something that's being rocked. This womb energy, the womb holds the seed. That's actually really beautiful, because a baby, and last year was the 999 portal, a baby sits 9 months in the womb, protected in the womb before it is birthed. So this cradle, protected, almost the seed that's being planted is being protected by the collective of people that are sitting in their divine feminine energy. The people that are using their third eye, what they can intuitively feel about what's going on as opposed to what they are seeing. These are people like you, like me, if you're watching tarot readings. These are people who do not rely, they're not plugged into the matrix anymore. They don't rely on an external source for information about what's going on. They sense it, they feel it. They observe it, and I want to say, and they clock it. I see you. I see what you're doing. I see the patterns in this. I see where this is headed, and I'm going to sit back. My mum said something to me years and years ago, and we were talking about somebody who essentially was just being an absolute AWS. And she said, a bird like that doesn't take long to shit in its own nest. And so you've just got to sit back and watch it happen. It's observance at the moment. And that 222.22 number that was in my storage on my phone, 2 is patience. You think about a baby in the womb, you know. I know when I was pregnant, it's like, is this ever going to end? And eventually you get this baby, this beautiful baby. But 9 months is a long time. 9 months is a long time. Interesting. So the North Node will be in Aquarius, but in July 2032, in 7 years' time, and 7 in biblical terms is the number of divine completion. In 7 years' time, the North Node will be in Libra, justice, balance. That's beautiful that card come out. So this cradle formation is happening in July. In October this year, we have the 10-10-10 portal. Now, the portals happen every month. So you have the 10th, for example. The 10th of October is the 10-10 portal. Happens every year. But every 15 years, you get an alignment where the date of the year also adds up to a 10. So 2026 adds up to a 10. So this year, we have the 10-10-10 portal, which is just beautiful because we've obviously also had this big February 20 great reset that's also happened as well, of these 2 planets that haven't been together at 0 degrees of Aries, the planting of the seeds in the garden. They haven't been together for, 6,500 years. So 10-10-10. Now, 10 symbolizes karmic completion. 9 is completion, but 10 is karmic completion. It's the difference between something ending and the review. Karmic completion is about looking back, and karma is learning the lessons from something that has ended in this divine feminine energy, taking on board what's actually gone on so that you can use it as a power move, not as a power move against somebody, but a power move to preserve yourself, to preserve your energy, to create the boundaries, to plant again, now that we're in this this Aries season, things that have come up from the depths. Neptune in Aries is things that have surfaced from the bottom, all the muck that's come up to the top that you can now scoop off. But the 10-10-10 portal is a reset, because 10s reset back to 1, which is the beginning, starting back at 1. The other thing that's happening in October, Venus, which again is this divine feminine energy, Venus basically makes a flower shape around as it transits around the sun, and every year it goes in behind the sun, and I think its cycle is 100 years as it makes its way through the zodiac. So Venus will go into each constellation each month of the year. So you have Venus in Virgo and Venus in Libra and Venus in, Scorpio and all this sort of stuff. But there's a point in each year where Venus actually has to go behind the sun. So she's known as the evening star, and then she drops back in behind the sun and she comes forward as the morning star. So you'll see her at night, but then you'll see her in the morning. And that only happens in one constellation each year. And again, I'm not an astrologer, and there is a beautiful Australian astrologer that actually works with Venus energy and has done a lot of research on the transits of Venus, and I will pop her page in the description if you're interested in that Venus energy. But I'm pretty sure it's 6.5 years, 7 years. Venus goes in behind the sun as the evening and morning star in a certain sign. So it's just happened for the last couple of years in Scorpio, and come October this year, her transit will begin in Libra, which again is this Justice card, which takes us in, and I'm not sure if it actually takes us into, takes us into 2032. Venus will be the evening and the morning star. Venus, divine feminine energy, and its balance in Libra, bringing back balance and collective harmony to the collective. The other thing I want to talk about specifically is the Virgo energy. So the Virgo lunar eclipse last night. Virgo is the Hermit card in the tarot. It's Phoenix rising energy. I've been through the fire. I breathe the fire. It's dragon energy, actually. And the lunar eclipse in Virgo. Virgo is the mother. Again, about a solo journey, a rebirth. And again, the Hermit card. Virgo is also the maiden. So this is something new. The queen from heaven, the woman from heaven brought to earth to plant the new seeds for humanity's rebirth. Virgo energy, maiden energy. I keep getting this song, and you wouldn't, unless you're Australian, unless you're old, you probably would not. I keep getting this song, Women in Uniform. So this army of divine feminine energy, women in uniform. It's a Skyhook song. And it's the symbolism about the name of the song. Divine feminine energy rising in the collective. The other songs that I was getting were Stairway to Heaven by Led Zeppelin. I also was getting Heaven by the Eurogliders. Now, again, not necessarily the lyrics of the song, but there is some symbolism in it. And I'll go through that in a minute. I was also getting The Beauty in the Struggle. I'll put these songs in the description box. You might get more messages through from the music video, from the lyrics, if you're called to that. As I said, Women in Uniform. I was getting downloads about Andromeda. Now, Andromeda is a galaxy that's actually side by side to ours, also known as the Queen of Heaven. The interesting thing is, the Stairway to Heaven, that song is about a biblical journey that a man Jacob had at the age of 77, the Stairway to Heaven. So that number 77. Andromeda is at a 77-degree angle to the Earth. That galaxy can be seen like a tilt, a 77-degree angle to the Earth, the woman from heaven. And it's 2.5 million light years away. Again, that 7 number. Even if we're looking at this 7-7 reference, and we're looking at the things that are at play in the collective at the moment, and not to get too much into this, but a particular country turned 77, or is in its 77th year at the moment as this lunar eclipse happens. And by 2032, which is another 7 years later, will be 84. That number might have significance. But again, these 7 numbers. Now, Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. The traditional ruler of Aquarius is Saturn. It's also ruled by Uranus, but it's also ruled by Saturn, which rules the ankles, the calves, and the shins. And in 2032, if we're looking at the pyramids in Giza, at the point in time, and I've done lots of readings about the first Adam and the first Eve. And actually, you know what? Eve would be the woman from heaven. Eve would be the woman from heaven. The first Adam and the first Eve. So it's almost like the second Adam can be seen as a figure like Jesus, for example. Now, when he came to the earth, Orion sat at zenith above the pyramids in Giza. And Orion is those three little, I can't even remember their names, something, they two start with A, and then Mintaka. By 2032, and it's essentially the precession of the planets, by 2032, Rigel, R-I-G-E-L, Rigel or Rigel, which is a star in the constellation of Orion. So Orion's belt sat at the top of the pyramid in Jesus' time, and by 2032, and it takes thousands of years, by 2032, Rigel, which is the seventh brightest star in our solar system, Rigel will be sitting atop the pyramid. It's called zenith, and it's essentially at its highest point. That's where it'll be, in the night sky. Now, Rigel symbolizes the left leg, which lines up with this Aquarius energy that's happening at the moment that we're running right across. Pluto in Aquarius. This collective rising with the North Node going into Aquarius this year. And as I said, Aquarius is ruled by the ankles, the calves, and the shins. Now, Rigel, in Arabic, the left leg. So we've got tie-ins with this symbolism. And as I said to you in the beginning, what I'm looking at is not what's on the news, it's what we can see. You know, what the divine is actually giving us in terms of signs and symbols in the sky. Now let's talk about this woman from heaven before I pull some cards. There's a book by John Milton called Paradise Lost. And in the book it says, now return the maid, which is Virgo. The Virgo lunar eclipse. Now return the maid, which is in Virgo. Estrella, E-S-T-R-A-A is how you spell it. Estrella returns the reign of Saturn. And we already know that Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Estrella returns the reign of Saturn. Only favour the child that is born pure, Lucina, or light. So this divine feminine light that's coming into the collective. Estrella was the daughter. So this is the myth about this queen from heaven. Estrella was born the daughter of Eos, the goddess of the dawn, and Estrellus, the god of the dusk and the wind. Estrella translates to star or star-like, a virgin goddess of justice. Associated with Dika, D-I-K-A, the Greek goddess of justice. Why is she in heaven, or why was she in heaven? So we're talking about constellation myths here. She was living among men, but she was disgusted by their war and their fighting. So she fled into Virgo, which is, again, this lunar eclipse that we've had in Virgo, the only woman in the sky. Living among men, she fled into Virgo. Her return will restore the reign of Saturn. So let's get some cards. Let's see what we need to know. There is also some comets in the sky at the moment, and one particular comet keeps catching my eye, and it is the Swan comet, and it's called F2. Wow, look at this. Death and rebirth. Dark night of the soul energy for anybody in divine feminine energy that has literally been through it. Now, actually, that's beautiful because, let me give you some information. The F2 comet was discovered March 25, 2025. That date might have significance to you. It was discovered in Pegasus, the nape of the neck in Pegasus, which aligns with the symbology of that constellation is faithful service, sprung from beheading Medusa. In April, it had gone into Andromeda. So this F2 comet had gone into Andromeda, which we know is symbolized by the Queen of Heaven. Chained to the rocks in Andromeda. April 25, it had gone into Triangulum, the gift of the river. By May 5, this F2 comet, this is last year, it was passing over the Pleiades, which is in Orion. That Pleiades is, there's heaps and heaps of stories about it, but it's about 7 women that were chased up into the sky. By May 14th, it was sitting on the shield of Orion. So almost like, you know what, putting your boundaries up, taking back your power. May 25, it was sitting on the foot of Orion, which is Rigel, this star that will sit above the pyramids in 2032. Zenith over the pyramids. Zenith is its highest point of occultation. So as it kind of comes up and rises, it's the top point where it rises to. June 13 last year, it was on the rabbit's foot. So that symbology is being hunted by Orion's dogs. July 7th, it was in Columba, which symbolizes Noah's dove. So a covenant that anybody in divine or moving towards leading with that divine feminine energy, Noah's dove is the covenant, the soul contract that you have with the man upstairs. August 8, it was in Carina, the ark. And by December, it was in Tucana, which is this, it's a bird, it's a toucan, it's this, almost this bird flying free. January, it was in Tucana. So this is this year. February this year, and this is beautiful because it aligns, February 20 this year, which aligns with this great reset. Saturn and Neptune going into 0 degrees of Aries. February 20 this year, this comet was in the constellation called Phoenix, as in the phoenix rising from the ashes. March, so right now, it's still in Phoenix. By Easter, it will be sitting on the wing of the Phoenix, almost about to take flight. By May 31st, it's on the tail of the Phoenix, which is almost where the power comes from that Phoenix that's rising up, like almost using that fire energy to rise up. By June 13, it will sit at 11 p.m. on Horologium, which is the pendulum clock. It's a zodiac sign, which is actually a clock. And where it will be sitting is 11 o'clock. It's like this Cinderella energy, like this rebirth energy. July 7, which is that 7-7 portal this year. And we've had lots of references, you know, Andromeda, which is the queen of heaven, sits at a 77-degree tilt to Earth. You could even, I'm just channeling here, but if Andromeda is the queen of heaven and Earth is ruled by man, and she's sitting at 77. So on July 7, which is this 7-7 reference, this F2 comet, Swan F2, is sitting right on midnight of the pendulum clock, the constellation called Horologium. I think that's how you pronounce it. Right on midnight, the midnight hour. September 11, the Tale of Tucana. And that reminds me of that Rio movie. And I don't think they were toucans. I think they were macaws. But I think there is a toucan in that movie. October 10, which is this 10-10-10 portal. The belly of Tucana. I don't know the symbolism of a toucan, but if you know that, please pop it in the comments. When I was doing research on those comets, I've done lots of research on all of the symbolism about all of the comets that are in the sky at the moment, and I will do individual readings on it, but that particular comet is the Swan comet. Now, swans, a couple of months ago, I had 2, and there are 2 Swan comets in the sky at the moment, discovered at 2 different times. But in Australia, we have black swans, indigenous to Australia. And a black swan event is something that somebody didn't see coming. So if we think of, you know, what the symbolism of Aquarius is, it's Uranus, it's earthquake energy, okay? But a black swan symbolism in Australian Aboriginal culture symbolizes a bird, the story of it, this beautiful white swan who was bullied by those around, all of the feathers plucked off, attacked, and ends up on this tiny little island in the middle of the lake. But what then happens? So if you think about that island as isolation, ostracized, isolation, that Virgo energy, which is the Hermit card. You know, you go through a dark night of the soul, which is the Hermit card. You go through that. And it's Chiron energy as well, which is the wounded healer. You go through that so that you can rebirth yourself, wiser, more beautiful. I want to say a badge of honor, but it's not a badge of honor. But what happened to this swan in these indigenous stories, the black swan was created because it went through that battle. It went through that struggle. And in having all of its feathers plucked off, the feathers regrew, but they were black. And if you have a look at a black swan, they've got a red bill, which symbolizes the struggle, the journey that they'd been through. And now they are revered. And as I said, only indigenous to Australia. So you can't find them anywhere. This is divine feminine energy in the collective, death and rebirth, that has endured, that has seen the struggle, the beauty in the struggle, that has, what are the lyrics to that song? Brian Martin sings that song. 2000, look at that again. 2022, this 2-2. I'm going to read the lyrics. She's as real as it gets and there ain't no way around it. Again, not gender specific. We're talking about energy here. Divine feminine energy. She's as real as it gets and there ain't no way around it. There's a road that's been through hell and she's been down it. She's been mistreated. She's been lied to. She's seen her share of trouble, but that girl, she's the beauty in this trouble. 'Cause she ain't all about herself, collective energy. She ain't one to ask for help. She's that diamond that you find when you've been left behind and you're sifting through the rubble. Yeah, that girl, she's the beauty in the struggle. She carries a weight that most could never handle, picking up the pieces of a heart that's been dismantled. She's a good friend, she's a fighter. She's watched her whole world crumble. But that girl, she's the beauty in the struggle. That really beautiful lyrics. This is the energy. This is the energy. And, you know, I'm not talking about a war here between men and women. I'm talking about energy. The out of balance divine masculine energy in the collective that is drawing back in the Queen of Heaven, this Queen of Heaven energy, drawing it back in to the collective to heal. You know, you think about a little kid falls over and rips their knee open. What do? They run inside to their mom for a band-aid. Again, not gender specific. You know, don't kind of come at me in the comments, but it's that. Where do you go to heal? And that is what this rise of this divine feminine energy is in the collective. We cannot keep going the way we are going. Death and rebirth. Okay, let's get a Harry, number 15, morality. Interesting, right? That's the 9 of Swords. And number 6, healing the arts, fortune, and fame. Okay. Number 1 on the bottom, new beginnings and bestows wisdom. Number 1 is the Fool card, which is Aquarius energy, which is that Uranus energy, which is a new start, a new beginning. Planting seeds in a new... what I heard was if you plant, then it doesn't make sense. If you plant seeds in a boat that's rocking, it will always rock. But if you plant seeds in something that is solid and grounded and stable and healing and an environment where something is fit to grow and bloom and blossom, you'll have a different outcome. The 9 of Swords is about morality. Who is doing? The 9 of Pentacles is this card here. Healing the arts, fortune, and fame. The Knight of Pentacles is Saturn in Capricorn. So things that have happened for a long period of time. And even if we talk about, you know, how long it's taken, Rigel, whatever its name is, the star, this 7th star, how long it's taken to get, just heard, to get to the point, because it's the calves, the shin, and obviously that's the foot, to get to the point where it can put their foot down. And I said it in a reading yesterday. I'm one of 5 kids. My mum, she didn't rule with an iron fist at all. She's the most quiet, angelic woman that I know, but she ruled. You didn't mess with her. Once she put her foot down, that was it. And I said this in a reading yesterday. I was having a conversation with her. I've had many conversations with her, obviously, about what's happening in the world and the people that are in power, who would do the arts, fortune and fame, who would do things from their ego. And I'm talking, government leaders, that sort of thing. And we were talking about these types of individuals, and just in war in general. And I was like, well, what do you think? And she's like, well, who's going to clean up all that mess, And it's so true. It's this seeing things, the long view of things. So these angels actually align with specific dates. So I'm just going to call those dates out. New beginnings bestows wisdom. Soul guardian for those born 12 a.m. to 12:20 a.m. Moral guardian for those born the 20th of March. That's the equinox. A new dawn. The 20th of March, the 31st of May, which is when 3i Atlas, and if you've watched any of my readings, it's when 3i Atlas is in the sky and sits on the 31st of May, 3i Atlas, which is the third eye. 3i Atlas will be sitting on the thigh of Pollux, moral guardian. Will be sitting on the thigh of Pollux in the constellation of Gemini. Now, Pollux and Gemini is represented by Jacob in the Bible. Jacob is that 77 stairway to heaven. So this is the 31st of May. New beginnings, and it bestows wisdom. On the bottom, hidden on the bottom. And your thigh is the soul contract that you have with the man upstairs. So the soul contract that the out of balance Emperor energies in the collective have with the man upstairs. The other thing that's happening on the 31st of May, this 3i Atlas coming through the sky, this arrow that's being pointed through the sky, is that the sun becomes conjunct with Aldebaran. Now, Aldebaran is one of the 4 royal stars of Persia and represents God's army. What did I say that song was coming through? Women in uniform. Divine feminine energy rising in the collective, calling in the soul contracts, or part of this garden that's being planted. When God calls in the soul contracts, 77. Andromeda is 77-degree angle from Earth. Andromeda is the Queen of Heaven. This is really beautiful. The 31st of May. The 11th of August. So this is the moral guardian, this angel. The 11th of August, the 22nd of October, and the 2nd of January. And the physical guardian for those born the 20th to the 24th of March. Again, this is this equinox energy. And the equinox is when it's spring. So if you think about, spring is new life. It's lambs. It's Easter even. Actually, Easter is the 4th of April this year. But it's this spring energy. But it's balanced because it's when we have equal day and equal night. Bringing back balance. That's really lovely. Let's have a look at these. Morality. Soul guardian for those born 4:40 a.m. to 5 a.m. Physical guardian for those born the 29th of May to the 2nd of June. Morality. So that is literally when, that's so beautiful. That is literally when 3i Atlas is on the thigh of Pollux, which symbolizes Jacob, which symbolizes a certain country. Morality. Physical guardian for those born the 29th of May to the 2nd of June. And the moral guardian for those born the 3rd of April, the 14th of June, the 25th of August, the 5th of November, or the 16th of January. And then let's have a look at this one. Soul guardian for those born 1:40 a.m. to 2 a.m. Physical guardian for those born the 14th of April to the 18th of April. And the moral guardian for those born on the 25th of March. Remember that, the 25th of March, the 5th of June, the 16th of August, the 27th of October, the 7th of January. That Swan comet, F2 Swan, those born the 25th of March. That comet was discovered on the 25th of March. So there's an alignment here. That's really beautiful. There's an alignment here. It's like the earth is, and you know, even if you think about Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, that's divine feminine energy as well. And if we're looking at, you know, this is the full card here, which is earthquakes, which is Aquarius energy, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn. Living among men, she flees into Virgo. Her return will restore the reign of Saturn. Saturn is karma. There's so much information here that's coming through. I truly believe, from a divine sense, that the big events that happen on our planet are signs from the heavens that we need to make adjustments, that basically shit's gone wrong. That's the Tower card, even too, in the tarot. The Tower card is Mars energy. Mars is actually conjunct Uranus at the moment, which is, Mars is the planet of war, and Uranus is the planet of earthquakes. Over the last 4 days, literally when all of this stuff has started to play out in our skies, in bombs flying through the air, Mars and Aquarius, and it is out of balance Emperor energies, and it is divine feminine energies, not gender specific, in the collective, that are sitting back and just watching and waiting to restore this balance. But in order for that to happen, something has to happen. Mother Earth has to enact some sort of catalyst for change, is what I want to say. I'm just going to double check that I'm recording, because this reading is good. Mother Earth has to, and I am, Mother Earth has to enact some sort of catalyst for change. Now, this generally happens, and has happened before, and you can see it being a catalyst for change in previous Pluto and Aquarius transits. So back in the 1700s, when in the French Revolution, which was in a Pluto and Aquarius transit, Aquarius again being ruled by Saturn, the woman from heaven who returns and will restore the reign of Saturn. Saturn is about structures, and it's like shaking things up. So in the French Revolution, the king and queen, Marie Antoinette and her king, I don't even, was he Henry, no, not Henry VIII, Louis the 14th or something like that, 16th, in their castle eating cake, ironically sending money across to the US to fund the American Revolution. Why were they doing that? Because they were doing that because they hated the English. And the Americans were trying to remove themselves from the colonial rule of the English. Interesting, because we're now seeing. And so they'd sent all of their money across to America, but the people were starving, and they're in their castle, their palace, eating cake. And what happened was a massive big volcano erupted in Iceland. I've had that song, Ice, Ice Baby. A massive big volcano erupted in Iceland. It was called Laki, L-A-K-I. Means luck or fortune, 777. Spewed a blanket of ash across Europe for 8 months. All of the seeds that they planted, the garden, Aries, all of the seeds that they planted, all of their crops failed. There was no sun. So everything failed. So then they were really hungry. And that is when they stormed the Bastille. So it was, I get by with a little help from my friends. It was a little help from Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, helping collective energy to rise. And it's happened before, specifically if we're looking at that country that's 77 at the moment. Back in 70 AD, 79 AD, I think. I've done a lot of research on the Pluto and Aquarius transits and the things that happen, and they repeat. History repeats. So the Roman army had come into the Holy Land, had destroyed a temple, brought all their troops in, destroyed the temple, which in the soul contract with God is, you know, obviously sacrilegious, not something that you do, to destroy somebody's place of worship. They were all based, and I just heard in Venezuela. Why did I hear that? They were all based in Venezuela. They were all based in the city around Pompeii. And so in the subsequent years, the volcano erupted there, spewed ash all over the city, and basically took out. And that city itself had the highest number of bars and the highest number of brothels per capita in the world. And then it was gone. If we're looking at things this rising in the collective. How does it happen? How did it happen in France? How does this divine feminine energy, which is what's coming through, and Saturn brings back order and justice. So in France was sending money across to the US. So they were benefiting, but they were taking it away. That money was meant to go to their people who were starving. If we look at what's happening at the moment in America, America has the largest group of supporters from a political standpoint, but also from a religious standpoint within the Christian community that is sending money across. Very interesting. And I know I've diverted off on a tangent, but if you're watching what's going on at the moment and you're picking up on these clues, that is divine feminine energy. It is about seeing the signs and the symbols that are written everywhere. And maybe you are part of, that energy of those people in France, part of that energy of somebody that has been pushed to the side, basically said, you're not worthy of a little help from, it could be the government or an organization or a family group or, a group of friends. And that's what's put you into that dark night of the soul. But there is restoration coming from Mother Earth, Mother Gaia, but coming from this rise of this collective energy, even the stairway to heaven, even in Islam, and there's a mirroring at the moment. So Lent and Ramadan actually align this year, I think for the first time in 33 years. Now that's Empress energy. Again, that 3/3 lunar eclipse. And I think in 2032, 2033, Islam, actually, I think it runs over the period of Christmas. But in Islam, the woman from heaven, they believe the stairway to heaven lies at the feet of the mother or lies at the foot of the mother. And we have this Aquarius energy. Now, there's some beef there with Christianity. Or that is what the powers that be would have you believe. But the reality is that they are actually more similar than you think. Both revere Mother Mary, this woman from heaven. Stella Maris, interesting, Stella Maris is the Queen of Heaven. Mother Mary is the Queen of Heaven. Okay, let's get some cards. Let's find out. What else do we need to know? The energy around us at the moment. The woman from heaven. Whoa, look at that. The Hermit card, number 9 in the tarot. This is this divine feminine energy in the collective. Number 9, Chiron, Virgo, wounded healer, wounded warrior, stoic. I just, this vision of Joan of Arc, stoic energy in the collective at the moment. Going through, this card is about a spiritual awakening, a rising of that energy in the collective. And even too, and because I'm just thinking about the notes that I've written over the last couple of weeks. As I said, Rigel is zenith, so at its highest occultation, if that's the word, over the pyramids in 2032. But Rigel is represented by amethyst, which is the crown chakra, which is literally spiritual awakening and ascension. An ascension of divine feminine energy in the collective. And again, not gender specific, male or female, we all hold it. What's happening in the 3D at the moment? Oh, okay. That's so true. The 3 of Swords is Saturn in Libra. Saturn in Libra. And the 5 of Cups is Mars in Scorpio. I just heard the prince that was promised. The prince that was promised that didn't deliver. And divine feminine energy in the collective is watching. Saturn in Libra. Her return will restore the reign of Saturn. But she fled, remember, she fled to heaven. She fled into Virgo. She fled into Virgo because she was sick to death of watching men fight it out. The soul energy of the collective at the moment. Whoa. Okay. So the Hierophant is change, The Hierophant for me is the God card. It's also Taurus and Venus, which again is this Queen of Heaven energy. But the Hierophant is the things that we are bound to, the structures around us, you know, and we can look at things as religions or, you know, the family that you're born into, you know, the bank that you've, many different levels, the bank that you've got your mortgage tied into. And actually that was another thing that came up this morning, the Hierophant. The Seven of Swords is about illusion. It's also a card of, this guy is in a battle. So this woman from heaven is in a battle. And what he actually tries to do is he tries to hide the swords of the different armies so that when they wake up in the morning and start to go at it again, they don't have their weapons anymore. And that is what somebody in divine feminine energy would do. They would kind of look at both sides and kind of work out how do I not, I want to put these this way. How do I get some sort of renegotiation here? But the other thing that popped up this morning was this video, and you might have seen it, it was the first time I'd seen it, and he was talking about, we are the battery. We are the battery that these people in this, who are playing God in society, are actually using, draining us of our energy. And he was talking about, do you cut the, you know, everybody's looking through these files at the moment, trying to find the one thing that makes it all true or makes it all, you know, go away or makes it all whatever. And he said, but the reality is, and it's true, because if you're spending all your time looking in those files, then this is a card of illusion too, sneaky. If you're so invested in that, then you're not actually seeing the bad stuff that's happening over there. And somebody in divine feminine energy goes, yeah, I can see exactly what you're doing. But what he was talking about, you have to unplug, and that's that Matrix movie, right? Unplug from the system. Even we got an EV this year. When did we get it? In June last year, June 20 last year. I haven't been to a petrol station, a gas station, in nearly 12 months. We charge it at home, overnight, charge it at home. We have unplugged from that part of the system, because what you're connected to or what you disconnect from cannot be controlled. This is divine feminine energy in the collective. Even too, the things that are trying to be controlled, you know, there was things that were trying, a narrative that was trying to be spun and controlled in the media as to what's going on in the collective at the moment. And TikTok was purchased to try and spin that narrative. And people, what did they do? They disconnected. They just left in droves. Because you can't control. That is Pluto and Aquarius energy rising up in the collective. You can't control a collective of people when they do something in mass. You can't spin a narrative. Interesting. And maybe that's what you've done. Maybe that's what you've done as part of this Phoenix rising energy that you've gone through, the troubles, the trials, the tribulations that you've gone through, this dark night of the soul that you've gone through, where you've extricated yourself from something that was toxic, but now it gives you these beautiful new eyes to see. And so what you do, and I've been doing, start scanning around for all the other things in your life that actually keep you controlled in that narrative. Okay. Let's have a look. We actually got a glimpse of it, you know. We actually got a glimpse of it in COVID, because we didn't have a choice. Everything was disconnected. And so, you know, you saw all these people posting things. They were baking at home, but you don't know how good it is until you live it. It's like that, you know, not having to go to put petrol in my car or gas in my car. We don't use the word gas in Australia. Not having to use anything in my car. And even too, battery on my car is so big that if we were to lose power for a couple of days, I can actually power my appliances from the battery reserve in my car. Again, disconnecting. Interesting. Okay. The message from the man upstairs. Saturn in Capricorn. It's been a long time. That's the Knight of Pentacles. The message from the man upstairs. I want to get another one. too many. The Ten of Cups, the Five of Swords. Okay, that's Venus in Aquarius. We're going to take them. They come out for a reason. That's Venus in Aquarius. Aquarius is this community energy, this collective energy, and Venus is this woman from heaven. The Seven of Pentacles is about where you plant your seeds. The Seven of Pentacles is Saturn in Taurus, where you plant your seeds. She's coming. That's what I want to hear. And the Ten of Cups is Mars in Pisces, which is the happily ever after card in the tarot. Pisces is about spirituality, but here it's talking about, and sitting right underneath, somebody who's gone through a spiritual journey and is in that divine feminine energy and rises up in the collective. The Ten of Cups, you know, in the original drawing of the card, there's a rainbow, the covenant with God. There's a rainbow, there's a man and a woman, a couple of kids and a dog, and, you know, a house and all that sort of stuff. It's recognizing that your value, your spiritual value actually comes from within. It doesn't come from anything material, anything external. And that was another video I saw this morning. He was talking about ice castles, the ice castle, ice baby, the ice castle, Iceland, that volcano, the ice castle that you build. It's ice, it's going to melt. It's about the people that you surround yourself, and I want to say what you know to be true internally because of a dark night of the soul that you've been on, because of the battles, the beauty in the struggle. This is the outcome of this woman from heaven. Whoa. The Ace of Wands. Aries, Leo, Sag. That's Phoenix rising from the ashes energy. That's a new beginning. And we've got the Five of Pentacles on the bottom. The Five of Pentacles is Mercury in Taurus. Okay. If we're looking at this as a volcano energy, Mercury is the planet of communication and Taurus is literally the earth. The divine communicating to us, and this is the Ace of Wands, which is, if you're looking at it from a biblical perspective, the ace, that is actually Aaron's rod, and Aaron's rod was used to part the Red Sea. A new life, a new beginning for people that were enslaved in Egypt. Enslaved in a mindset, but you've punched through. This is about the outcome here. This is about Mother Earth, Mother Gaia assisting this Queen of Heaven energy, divine feminine energy in the collective. I want to say in a way that is miraculous, in a way that cannot be controlled by man. Again, I'm not gender specific. There are some out of balance women in divine, out of balance, masculine energy that cannot be controlled. It's like a helping hand. Oh, and on the bottom we've got the Wheel of Fortune, which is Laki, L-A-K-I. That volcano in Iceland, Laki. Okay, let's get a Mother Mary card. The Woman from Heaven. The Star of Bethlehem, guidance. Whatever is happening in your life, if you are sitting in divine feminine energy, in that patient 2222 energy, patience, you are receiving guidance. You will know what to do and when to do it. What else? Oh, so beautiful. Solace, you're on a divine journey. That says divine journey. Now, let me tell you about this dragonfly, and this came out in the reading. If you see dragonflies in your garden flying around, it's generally speaking, it's the male dragonflies, all out there in their huffy puffy power. Let's go and capture the woman and procreate. When you see a dragonfly that is lying on the ground and appears lifeless, she's actually not. She's sitting in her divine feminine power. She's playing D-E-A-D to ward off the energy She's creating boundaries. She's to ward off the energy of suitors she's not interested in. Solace. She's sitting in solace. That is divine feminine energy. A balance of wisdom and action. That's so beautiful. You've got forget-me-not on the bottom. Again, planting. I wonder when you plant forget-me-nots. Probably in spring. Or maybe they bloom in spring. Anything else? Okay, the Holy Grail. Vessel of love. Divine feminine energy is the Holy Grail. And even if you have a look at that, that movie with Tom Hanks, the Holy Grail. It was Sophie, which is a symbol of Sophia, the divine feminine energy. She was, the men were all, they were all searching for this actual thing, this physical thing. It was her. She was the Holy Grail, a vessel of love, divine feminine energy, a vessel of love. And they'll never find it. Out of balance divine masculine energy will never find it because they don't understand it. And on the bottom, I knew this was going to come out. The Feast of the Annunciation is March 25th. So 5 days after the equinox on March 20. It's a reference. March 25th is when that F2 comet came in last year. In the 999 portal year. That F2 comet. There's stuff about that. The midnight hour, because it comes across. The phoenix rising from the ashes. The midnight hour. March 25th. That's beautiful. That's beautiful synchronicity in a reading, really. And sometimes in a reading I think, is it too much information? Do I talk about, you know, the symbolism in that comet? But if I hadn't of, we wouldn't have had that synchronicity. Okay, I don't want to clarify any of these cards because I think they've come out really well. I just want to get, this is my travel deck. So when I was 21, I spent some time traveling around the world, and these are all the photos of the places that I went. Okay, that's the Trevi Fountain. That's interesting actually because I've been hearing probably for 18 months, all roads lead to Rome. Now, where the Trevi Fountain is sat, it's a place where 3 roads lead in. And you could equate it to, for example, the 3 Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Islam, and Christianity, who all believe in the same God. They all worship the same God. They just do it in different ways. Interesting, though, that that's come out. Because that's the battle at the moment. Or what they would have you believe is the battle at the moment between Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. And remember I said to you that the path to heaven in Islam lies at the foot of the mother. And I think that's St. Peter's Basilica, but I'm going to confirm that. And you'll have to excuse the banging. I have large children at home today. The image shows the facade of St. Agnes in Agone Church, a renowned Baroque masterpiece in Italy. Situated on the west side of the famous Piazza Navona, construction began in 1652 under Pope Innocent X, on the site where St. Agnes was martyred in the 4th century. Okay, so in 304, St. Agnes faced persecution for refusing to marry. Solace. So this is somebody who's putting up boundaries. She was discovered to be a Christian because at that particular time it was illegal to be Christian. She proclaimed her faith and devotion to Jesus with boldness and courage, despite the threat of losing her life. So she was a young Roman virgin. And again, we've got this symbolism. We've got Christianity here as well. She's often depicted with 2 lambs. Now, a lamb is a sacrifice. 2 lambs are blessed by the Pope on her feast day. This is going to make me cry. She's the patron saint of young girls, sexual abuse victims, and chastity. She died around the age of 12 to 13 for refusing to marry. And Agnes means lamb in Latin, so this sacrificial lamb. And her feast day is January 21. That might have significance. Saint Agnes. Okay, I'm going to get some Scrabble tiles, letters and numbers in here. It does make a little bit of noise when I shake it. I'm going to shake it in 3, 2, 1. See if we can get anything else about this woman from heaven. Beautiful though that we got a female saint, woman from heaven. J and an 8, a Q and a 10, a H and a 4, an N and a 1, a W and a 4, a V and a 4, a U and a 1, a B and a 3, a Z and a 10, an I and a 1, a T and a 1, a K and a 5, and an F and a 4. Right, 3 final cards, and then I am going to, yeah, let's do that. Then I'm going to leave you, because I am so deep in my thought. And I've just paused, and this is out of balance divine masculine energy in the collective. Rushing forward and doing things without thinking. I've got a 6-month-old puppy, little Labradoodle puppy called Colonel. And he's just come up to the window and his whole face is wet. The rest of his body is dry, but his whole face is wet. I've got this big bowl of water outside for the dogs to come and drink. And he literally just went up and put his whole head in it. Doing things without thinking. Doing things without thinking first, as opposed to divine feminine energy. Now that dog, I'm sorry, is in out of balance divine masculine energy. Cute, but interesting. Okay, Nine of Swords. That was up here, the Nine of Swords. Mars in Gemini. Was it up here? Yeah, 15, the Nine of Swords. Mars in Gemini. People charging forward. Gemini is about a choice. The choices you make. Let's see what else we get. Anything else that we need to know? Ooh, the Page of Cups. That's the moon in Pisces. Look at that. Little bird looking at his reflection. What have I done? What have I done? What have the people around me? 2 pages here. Interesting. Knocking. Knocking the divine feminine energy out of balance. Used and, I want to say used and abused. With a lack of understanding of the value of divine feminine energy. And as I was shuffling those cards, I've cleaned my windows. They're all lovely and clean. But with his full head of water from dunking it in the bowl, he's just walked up and he shook his face. And now there is doggy water drops all over the glass. But I was thinking about, in a couple of weeks' time, he's actually going in to get spayed. He's a little out of control. And so the vet has suggested divine feminine energy that calms out of balance divine masculine energy down in the collective. The Hermit card, which is what we started with. That's so beautiful. That is divine feminine energy to a T. That is just so beautiful. I'm going to get a one more card. This is just a guidance card. Anything else that we need to know about this Queen of Heaven energy, this rise of the divine feminine in the collective? Anything else that we need to know? And then I'm going to leave you. I know I said that before, but jealousy and regret. I recognize that the sands of time cannot be altered. That's divine masculine energy. I am akin to everyone, yet face unique trials. Jealousy. That's about power and trust. I embrace the wisdom of my inner voice, trusting it to always lead me true. That's so beautiful. I'm going to pop that there with those divine feminine cards. And purpose. I am certain of my purpose in this realm. I bet you are. All the best on your journey. If this reading resonated with you, please give it a like. If it didn't, that's okay. Wish you all the best anyway. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Please have a look at that Divine Feminine playlist, The Rise of the Divine Feminine. You can find it in my playlist section, or you can also find it in the links in the description. I will also pop the link to beautiful Australian astrologer, Anastasia, who does a lot of work with this Venus energy and provides incredible insight into how Venus is at play in the skies. So thanks again, and I will see you in another reading.